Boom. Welcome to the Friday Mastermind, everyone. We have got a full house. We have an incredible special guest. It's been way too long since we've had the one and only Denise Donoghue. What's up, mortgage nerd?
Hey, what's going on? It is the Friday before a long weekend. Let's go. I'm ready.
Yeah, I think we all need a long weekend, so I'm fired up about that. I've got Todd Bookspan, the founder and CEO of Win by Noon. What's up, Todd?
Not much. Anytime that we can have both the bird and the nerd is a good Friday in this community.
Isn't that a podcast called The Bird and the Nerd?
It's actually the nerd and the bird. For some reason, Denise had to put her name first. I think that's because she was the first one out the chute. But Dave, I'm proud of you. You got our names correct. I think the last time we did this, you kept calling each other the different names. So good job, buddy. Growth.
Yeah, hey, I'm making progress. Remember, I used to call you Denise all the time.
Yeah, all the
we're
time.
dating back like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And we should tell the crew who you are. So that's Deborah Bird, CEO and founder of Plug and Play SM, the one and only.
Thank you. Yes.
The top social media management consultant, coach, and speaker in housing. So thank you, Deborah, for all you do.
You are welcome. This was the easiest interview to prepare for, my roommate.
Yeah, right. Your identical twin.
Yeah.
So guys, first takeaway, make sure you guys follow the bird and the nerd. And yes, I know I said that wrong, but that's how I'm going to say it. But if you do Google it, it is the nerd and the bird. We'll put a link down below. It really is a fantastic podcast. These two amazing leaders and creators put a lot of time and energy into it. And it's funny and it's educational. So if you want some edutainment, highly recommended. So let's bring Denise on. So Denise, you picked the title today, how to attract realtors at scale. And I like that you threw in that scale. Give us a little bit of thinking around why you picked that as the title today.
Because and you know what, for all those that are listening live, like I listen to Mortgage Coach on YouTube all the time. Actually, when I go to the gym and I work out, I pull up the YouTube channel. Oftentimes when I'm in a funk, and I'll pull up, your most recent videos. But if you're watching live, I would love for you guys, give this a thumbs up, like, comment, tell us where you're from. I want to make this as interactive as possible over the next 40, 50 minutes. So feel free to drop questions in as we're chatting. I'm going to make this the most interactive Mortgage Coach interview that Dave has done. That's the challenge. But let's be real, right? Like this has been, I kind of get tired of saying this is a hard market or a tough market. Phil Jones taught us to word swap. So I'm going to say this has been a challenging market. And anybody that's listening, myself, who's been on several stages, my production is down. It's way down. And so I just think it's important for us to just call it like it is. Production's down. So what are we doing about it? And to me, we have to I know so many people on these calls have said, get back to the basics and get back in front of realtors. But the reality is that a lot of licensed realtors have either gotten out of the business over the last 8 to 10 months, or they have joined teams because their leads have gone down. And so they're joining teams, which might mean that realtor that you were working with, that maybe you closed 3 or 4 deals with in a 12-month calendar time period, is now with a team that has their preferred lender. And so now they're not using Todd anymore. They're using the team's preferred lender. So there's less fish in the sea that are out buying and shopping for homes right now. And then some of our realtors are getting scooped up by teams, and we're going to lose some on our roster. So my biggest focus over the last 8 months has been my current realtor roster. Who's on the roster? Who's sending me business? Who's sending me crap? Who do I need to go out and hunt for to add to the roster? Because we might be losing some, which will be inevitable. That's why you've always got to stack your bench. But what's the method that we're doing that today? What's anybody that's on this call that wants to chime in via chat, that's on Zoom, or if you're on Facebook, drop it in. Like, what is your current method of getting in front of realtors right now? And I'm not saying that there has to be one method. It's just like a chocolate chip cookie recipe, right? Like a lot of us might make our chocolate chip cookies differently. Fun fact, I've made them once without flour. I wouldn't recommend that, but my recipe for a chocolate chip cookie might be a little bit different than Dave's or Jeremy's or Deborah's. You know what I mean? It's not that the recipe has to be the same, but you have to try it enough and make the cookies enough to find your own, and then go to town with your recipe because you know that it works. So what's your method? Are you still doing the, maybe you're shooting a DM or a message on social media. Maybe you're pulling a list from the title company and seeing who the top producers are, and you're cold calling those. Maybe you don't like cold calls. You do better if you're in person. So you do the open house crashing method, because if you can get in front of them, show them your charisma, then add them to your incubation process, then that's the strategy that works for you. My point is you've got to have a recipe or a strategy. And my belief is, because of how fast things are moving in today's day and age, the more you can dabble in some of that with at scale. So I'm not saying to only have a chocolate chip cookie. I'm saying you need to have like 4 or 5 different types of cookies that you can go and attract realtors with. So you might have some that's more at scale. You might have some more that's at the open house crashing. You might have ways that you're inviting people in to come to your events. But you need realtors. You need to get in front of as many as you can, and you need to do it quickly. And you have to do it way more often than you might have thought you needed to, because of how crazy fast and technology and social media. And, you know, it's like I used to only send an email once a month to my realtor list, and it's not enough anymore. You know, with how much everybody's on social. You know, Dave, when we were at the Modern Mortgage Summit, I made everybody pull up their phones. My sister taught me this trick. Pull up your phone and see what your average screen time is. And on average, people are at 5 to 6 hours on their cell phone. And so we're used to being inundated with content and stuff that I realized, holy cow, I thought I was annoying people by doing it once a month. Now I'm like, I got to do this once a week. I might even up it up a little bit, where it's an email and a text message for rate alerts. But the point is that there's not as many people buying and selling right now. That's a fact. So your average realtor that might have sent you 10 deals a year might only send you 5 deals a year. So how are you going to replace that? You can either do that by adding more realtors to your roster, or adding loan officers to your branch if you're a branch manager. But it is going to be harder to do the same amount of business, because if you envision an ocean, and then I'll pause for a second, but this was that presentation that I sent you, Dave, my chat GPT. I had it help me create, because I'm not a fisherman by any means. I'm happy to share it with you guys. But imagine an ocean, and you have all these fish underneath the ocean. In 2020 and 2021, it didn't matter what bait you were using as a fisherman, you're likely going to catch a fish, because there were so many people in the marketplace that they were hungry. You might have been using a certain type of lure and they would have eaten it, you know? Well, now the fish visual remove half those fish. People aren't buying and selling as much. So now you have to pay a little bit more attention to what your bait is on your line. You can't go out fishing in an ocean, or you can't go fishing in a lake with salt water bait. Like, no matter how many times you throw that fishing line out, you're fishing with simply the wrong bait. And so you're not going to have as many fish bite. And then what's happening to your mental game is, mentally you're like, shit, I'm out of it. I'm out of swing. You know, if anybody has seen 10 Cup, where he gets out of swing and he's like, move all of the money in the right pocket to the left pocket. But you got to reevaluate what's the bait on your fishing line, and is it working? And if not, you have to pivot. So you do have to be more strategic with what your bait looks like to realtors, which we'll get into, what your bait might look like on social media, and needs to be super relevant to what the marketplace is demanding right now, not the same crap that you did in 2020 and 2021. So ask yourselves right now, since this is a realtor focused call, what bait are you using to get in front of real estate agents right now? Anybody that's in the chat or on Facebook, let's see what anybody has to say. What bait? Someone brave What bait are you using? All right, John says lender launchpad. Who else?
So Brian McCauley on Facebook had said he is going after listing agents on the existing contracts that he currently has. So shout out to Brian. And Dan Keller also said DD is the best at this topic. Take notes. I am so good.
Okay, so Aaron on Zoom said weekly trainings for agents. So when Brian is reaching out to those listing agents, what's the bait though that you're using? That's the method, is the listing agents. That's a warm contact because now you've got, you've got a deal under contract, but what are you leading with? Like, how are you asking for that appointment?
Yeah, so couple things. So one, I just put a link to a Google Doc in chat. I didn't know that Denise was going to have this ambition to make this the most interactive mastermind of all time, but I want to help her achieve that goal. So it's an editable Google Doc. I will also put it on Facebook in just a second when I'm not talking, but guys, add your ideas. Like, we're brainstorming. This is a mastermind, and the more interactive we make it, the more value everyone gets. I just added one idea, Realtor lunch masterminds, because Shant Benosian, #1 loan officer in America, when I interviewed Shant and I said, what's working best? Two things. One, I've never met with more realtors face-to-face in my entire career in a year, and it's only May. So, and my #1 way to do that is I'm having lunch masterminds with 6 to 12 realtors. So let's get that document filled out with lots of interaction. A couple of things I want to say, and then hand it off to Todd and Deborah to see what questions they want to ask. But first of all, anyone watching this, I want you to realize that, Denise is not just one of the most successful mortgage advisors in America. She is distinguished even among the best of the best. In 2021, she did over 700 transactions, like 722. And that's incredible production, making her one of the top. But the following year in 2022, when everybody started having their business cut in half, Denise was down, but she still did over 500 loans. And while she's down again, she's still on track for 400. So we're talking about, not only one of the most successful, but in terms of how much she's down, my guess is she's, in that mega producer team mode, she's in the top 10 in America. Like, that's just my guess. So make a note of that, everyone. And then also, this interview is going to hit our Trust Engine YouTube channel next week. But I interviewed Brian Hale, who, for anyone who doesn't know who Brian was, he was the head of production for Countrywide. There's probably no one who has brought more senior executives and CEOs into the business than Brian. He was the CEO of Stearns. He's now consulting lots of the biggest lenders in the country. He knows what's going on. And there were two big takeaways that I want to just plant right now as we go into this. One, he said that 2% of realtors are doing 70% of the business. So that totally aligns with what Denise just said. People are either leaving or they're going to teams, and teams are doing it. So like the 80-20 rule is old school. In the mortgage business is probably 10% are doing 90%. And in the real estate business, it's moving towards 5%. So make note of that. He also said that the next 5 to 10 years for mortgage is going to be, and he's never said this word, stupendously great. Like, he's like, the demographics don't lie. Like when you look at Gen Z, who's supposed to, do over 30 million home purchases over the next 5 years, and you look at Gen X, and then or millennials, if you take Gen Z plus millennials and half of Gen X, it's 2.5 times the boomer community. So demographics don't lie. Like, there is a tsunami of demand, and it's up to the mortgage advisors that team up with realtors that are going to win this. So just wanted to bookmark those two things. Todd, anything you want to say or ask at this point?
Well, real
Wait,
quick.
Dave,
Whoa. Denise wants to say something.
Yeah, before. The other thing to add to that stat, Dave, Todd and Deborah and Keith Collins and I were on a mastermind, and he told us, Todd, I can't remember, but it was like 40% of loan originators did not renew their mortgage license for 2023. So we might be in some pain in these last 2 weeks with interest rates. It is painful right now. But imagine, like, all of us in 2019, had we known in 2018 and 19 what was going to happen in 20 and 2021. And so add what Dave just said from the Gen Stat to loan officers are exiting this business, y'all. Like, there's so much opportunity right now. It's exciting. But Todd, take it away.
Well, no, that was such a great call too. So we'll stay tuned. We're going to have a future conversation around wealth building. That's the rabbit trail that a bunch of us are on in this group off to the side. So we'll make sure we do that. But I just threw into the chat and Zoom and also into Facebook, Dave, we got to make sure we remind everyone that Scriptapalooza is next Wednesday. And we're super stoked. We've got Phil M. Jones, who wrote Exactly What to Say, as our co-host. And he's going to sharpen, we're going to have the best of the best giving their scripts. Remember, this is a free event. It's the biggest event that Dave and I've, put on the last, I think this is our 6th year, right, Dave? And
this will be the 6th one.
And so make sure you sign up. Dave and Trust Engine have increased their Zoom capacity. We've always maxed it out at 1,000 people and a few hundred watching live on Facebook. So if you haven't registered for that, you really should be there, because it'll be a great opportunity for you to interact and ask questions, but it's going to be pretty fast paced. We've got, a dozen of the top originators who will be giving their best scripts and having sharpening from Phil.
And I want to tell you guys, Brian McCauley, who's on this call right now, what's up, Brian, has an incredible script that he calls his reverse leverage script that he's using to get meetings with builders and realtors. And it's gold. Like, this reverse leverage script is going to be amazing. So, Wednesday at 11 o'clock, Denise is going to have a rad script. I actually want to hear what it is. So absolutely sign that up. And then Todd, I want to, Todd said this rabbit hole of building wealth. Guys, it's not a rabbit hole. Like, that is the North Star for most Americans, that they want home ownership, but they want home ownership with financial freedom. And the only way that happens is building wealth. Nicole Ruth, who's also a super iconic, she's the #1 loan officer in the state of Colorado. She's going to be doing her wealth building value prop, or wealth building with real estate value prop. Like, if you look at the signature on her email, it's building wealth with real estate. Like, guys, the best loan officers in America aren't selling loans, they're selling financial freedom. So I just want to make sure we didn't run past what Todd just said. Deborah, anything you want to say or ask before we get Denise back on sharing her ideas?
Yeah. So, the first question was, what is your method? And the second question is, what bait are you using per method when you are trying to attract more real estate partners? And I just wanted to add in, Brian responded to his bait question, where he's trying to go after the agents on the contract, the listing agents on a contract. So he said, if they close the deal smoothly, can we meet for 20 minutes and see how we can help each other open more doors? He invites them on his podcast. He offers social media stuff in his studio for free, and also promises them that he will either give them a referral in 90 days or get them a referral from everyone that they close together. So those are 3 different bait options that he's utilizing. And I know, Denise, we do something similar just with our podcast and with the studio, of trying to solve the real estate agents' problems. If you can solve their problems beyond just the typical, we close fast and getting low rates and fees, but it's also going above and beyond the transaction for them and solving the business need.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things that, my theme for this year that I talked about when we were kicking off 2023 was put yourself in the path of opportunity. And so when you hear, when Denise was given her chocolate chip cookie recipe, right, those were all the different places that you can put yourself in the path of opportunity. And when you hear Brian saying, hey, I'm just using the tried and true, I'm going after listing agents, right? Anyone who's got a transaction, that's a path of opportunity if you choose to do what the best of the best are doing. And so, I love that. Do you have a follow-up plan, Denise, that you're doing with listing agents, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, and actually, I think that missed opportunity is it's not just about the listing agent that is on the contract. It's the manager or the broker manager that's also listed on that contract. And so it's always been my principle to be adding 5 realtor connections a week to my database, and 5 is just the minimum. Are you guys pausing me? Oh, 5 is just the minimum, but the point, and it's not just like, I don't really believe in filling your database up with cold people, like buying a list or just throwing that listing agent's name in there and not ever having spoken to them. But at the beginning of the year, we identified and wrote out a process for exactly how we're going to contact the listing agent when our clients make an offer. We're going to go back and analyze what our process looked like, because we got a little lazy on it when the market was fast and furious. So what does that really look like? Is it identified, and are we doing it? I found out that we stopped adding those agents to our system and our follow-up process because we made the offer and the offer didn't get accepted. And so because the offer didn't get accepted, our trigger point was actually when they went under contract. And I'm like, well, holy smokes. The trigger point should be, we made a contact with them because we called them when they sent in the offer. We should still be courting those people, even though we didn't go under contract. That was like a stupid aha moment 10 years into the business, like, duh. So we do it from the scale of like, any offer that gets submitted, what does that look like? What if we get a voicemail? Then what does it look like if we speak to them? What does it look like to the offer gets accepted, to at closing? What does it look like? How do we reach out to them? How do we ask to meet up? And then one step further is, because I've been on this at scale, right? That's what this was all about, was attracting realtors at scale. That listing agent is just one agent. I want either the team lead or the broker manager. And I go into it. I don't know if my screen is full, if you guys can see my screen, but I go into it with, hey, so I love the reverse leverage. I'm all about the sales method of the takeaway. That's kind of my ammo. I'm very rarely courting people. Everything that you see about me is attracting. Even in the dating world, I was always like, play hard to get. I don't like to chase or sound desperate. So I'm all about the reverse psychology of, man, I just did a presentation last week to a competitor real estate brokerage, right? And it was phenomenal. The agents loved it. And I would love to do something for you and your agents in your office. When is the next time that you guys meet? I can't give you my whole script, because that's my teaser for next Wednesday. Scriptapalooza is exactly what to say, whether it's a DM or an email, to get that realtor appointment. I will tell you exactly what to say, but not till next Wednesday at Scriptapalooza, to get in front of it, to not just wow the listing agent, but I want to wow the whole brokerage. And then I'm going to invite them to more and more Zoom little mini masterminds, which we'll go into in a second. But this one is the most recent one that I did. I alluded to it a little bit, Dave, a few weeks ago. You posted that picture. I think it was in the Facebook group, of the guy in the boat with the fishing line. And that's what like literally spawned my creativity to make this ChatGPT idea of a presentation to take to local real estate offices. And then of course, Deborah's marketing team made it all fancy, but I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, but I did want to show you a few slides on this, because some of you guys sometimes overthink presenting to a broker office or doing a Zoom mastermind. Y'all, it can be so basic as like hey guys, next Tuesday, I'm jumping on a 20-minute Zoom live Q&A about the third-party financing addendum in the contract, on how to write the most aggressive offer to getting it accepted. Here's the Zoom link, get registered. And you're going to fill up with people registering, because it's 20 minutes, it's quick, they're seeing you. And so when they see you, even virtually, you're maintaining a close relationship, you're providing something of value, but you don't have to overthink it. If you're not great at marketing and you're not using plug and play, like, just show the third-party financing addendum. There's so much stuff in the last few months of the LLPA changes and this debt ceiling crap. And everyone said to circle May 10th that rates were going to get better. And it seems like they did the exact opposite of circling May 10th. Like, there's so much opportunity. You don't overthink it. Exactly
Yeah.
what Dave does every Tuesday and Friday is kind of what you should be doing in your own mortgage business, right? So,
Is this
oh, there it
the
is.
one? Yeah.
Yes.
And guys, this is a really great conversation to have with a real estate agent, because what I think NerdWallet says there's 28 million people that want to buy a house right now. Like there's a lot of people that want to buy a house, but only 3 to 4 million are gonna buy houses. And a realtor doesn't really know who wants to buy a house in their database until they can observe some behaviors. The person calls them, they go to an open house, but there's all these things that happen below the water, where they go from, hey, I'm not looking to, they're looking. And usually right in here, they start using their phone app in Zillow. And so Zillow knows who's looking and who's thinking. And then they start driving around, they start watching, HGTV, they're driving around their neighborhoods, they're talking with others, they pop up. So one of the things I'm doing a webinar with HomeBot next week. And that's one of the topics is like, what can loan officers do so that what's happening beneath the surface? And one is use HomeBot. Two is have a database that's monitored by Sales Boomerang, and making sure that and by the way, guys, that's a value prop for realtors, to be able to make the case that your database is more valuable if I'm managing it, because I know what's going on beneath the surface. Most loan officers can't provide that superpower. What are your thoughts on that, Denise?
I mean, it's so true. I mean, by nature, mortgage officers, we're more organized. We should be more organized. By now we should have a database. 10 years ago, so some of us were like not maintaining databases, but I mean, it's 2023, you should be. But realtors they still don't. They don't even necessarily leverage a CRM as well as they should. So why not be the database manager for them if you can prove that you have enough integrity in such database, which is why you have to show this when you're talking to them, that if you uncover a need from their client, it goes back to that agent. That's like the number one question I get from agents when we're talking about databases. And we literally closed on a loan this week from one of our top agents. We got the referral from a past client. When we did their intake form, it said, who may we thank for referring you? They listed that past client. We had our pre-purchase consult. We said, hey, are you currently working with a real estate agent? They said no. So this past client who we technically got from Caitlin, the realtor, the past client remembered us, not the agent, told her friend to use us. We had it all tracked in our database that then we said, oh, well, you've got to use Caitlin. She's fantastic. And so that lead went back to that agent because we have integrity and we're organized in our database. And so when you do that enough times and you can articulate and actually show agents how you're that organized and how you can get your notifications that this person's looking because, you got your boomerang update that's like, oh, they might be in the market. Oh, they listed their house for sale. Oh, they just had a mortgage pull. Like you become super valuable. And we all know that the way to be the most valuable to a real estate agent, like it or not, is going to be if you can produce, I would say, leads back to the agent. I would love it to be the education and value that we bring, because I can do that a lot more than I can promising to give you a referral every 90 days. I can't control that. I have the systems in place to ask for it. Providing both is the double whammy, but the most valuable thing to a real estate agent is going to be money in the form of how can we help them make more money, whether it's a lead, whether it's our database management, whether, whatever it is. So yeah, I absolutely believe in that. And before we go too much longer, I do want to get into some tactical things of what I'm doing to attract real estate agents. Y'all know I'm all about tactical stuff, but
Let's
I'll
go. Well, hey,
pause.
we're right at halftime. Okay. So perfect. We've set it up. Remember, guys, let's make this the most interactive, valuable, action-taking mastermind of all time. so far we have 4 strategies listed out. I also created a little chapter for key concepts and takeaways. So please, guys, add your notes to this. And as it sounds like we're going to get tactical now. We'll build these notes out. So guys, participate, play along, and start riffing. What you got?
Okay. Deborah, did you want to add?
Well, I was just going to say this week I had done a content day with a local real estate agent, and sorry, Denise, you weren't the lender on the deal, but it was a different loan officer that I work with whom I know uses Sales Boomerang. And so ironically, as we're creating content and we were talking about the home buying process, she had told me, I feel bad because I'm just focused on listings. I don't really have a lot of buyers. And so, she didn't know how to bring in Tammy, the loan officer. And I said, well, Tammy has a borrower intelligence platform that will help you, even if you're trying to get more listings, where it uses AI to notify you when there could be a possible, life event or certain equity advantage. And so don't forget that those of you who are using Sales Boomerang, allow that to be your positioning and kind of power statement of how you can even help those quote listing agents get more business, even if they think they don't need you as a partner. That's a way to capture that business as well, or adopt their database. So just wanted to add that in.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that I do think there's tools in the tool belt. Dave, I watched a video that you had sent where, it's a Mortgage Coach user, and I think she'd been in the business for a couple of years, and she was meeting with a whale of a realtor, and she started talking about Mortgage Coach. And so sometimes I do think the tools that we have in our tool belt, we kind of take for granted because we use them every day. Like we use Mortgage Coach every day, your Sales Boomerang, and like, these are the things, just don't forget, these are the things that you should be bringing to your real estate agents and showing them, whether it be in your weekly emails or on your social media. Y'all know I'm a massive, I all the time will take, I don't do it fancy. There's reasons to use highly produced videos, and there's other reasons to use super authentic real-time videos. And I love, more than anything, taking my phone on my computer screen where it doesn't look fantastic visually, but it shows my audience it's authentic, showing them that, look at this Mortgage Coach. I just literally did 3 Mortgage Coaches before this call right now. And when I'm looking at rates with how rate boards are today, they're not attractive. And I'm like, I know that this 6.75% rate looks and feels a lot better than this 7.5%. And emotionally, we might want to pick that. But my job as your advisor is to show a break-even analysis, because my prediction is that you're going to be in this mortgage for maybe 24 months. So then I scroll to that 24-month short-term analysis, and I'm like, I know that 6.875 looks better, but according to this analysis, you're going to overpay $1,300 for that. And actually, that really ugly, disgusting 7.5% rate makes more financial sense to do. Now, you customer, you make the decision. You get to pick your rate. My job's to deliver the numbers for you and to run the break-even analysis. But this is why Mortgage Coach is so powerful. And this is why the tools and the tech tools that you use are some of my ammo. That's some of my bait that I use once I actually get in front of an agent. Or if it's a new agent relationship, I'm like, hey, I don't know if you're used to working with a mortgage advisor, but I wanted to share with you how I present rates to clients, how I show them behind the curtain, because I think it's really important. They know all of their options, and how we run a break even. I'm not sure if you've seen this before, but if you haven't, take a look and let me know your thoughts. And they're like,
Denise, I want to unpack that just a little bit. You did, it was for the Modern Mortgage Summit. And I'm trying to, hang on, let me try to pull this up on my screen. I just shared this video. It's been watched over 8,000 times. Do you remember this? How Denise Donoghue blows the minds of groups of realtors?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and by the way, guys, it's only a 5-minute video. I just put a link in chat. I also added it to the document. And it sounds like you just shared, like, I think in this one, there were like 5 different ideas and strategies that you were talking about. I think rent versus own was one of them. But what are, you said break-even analysis. What are the top, call it mortgage strategies powered by Mortgage Coach? that you think would blow a mind of a realtor right now?
Well, it kind of gets into this presentation, and my very first bullet point of attracting realtors at scale is you have to know.
Hey guys,
what their-
are you hearing some feedback when Denise is talking just now? Yeah, all of a sudden, yeah, something went off the rails there.
Oh, can y'all hear me now?
I
Give me
mean,
a thumb. Give me a heart.
no,
thumbs up.
it's Mickey Mouse. We hear you, but it's just like all of a sudden some static started coming in while you talk. Maybe switch mics. And this is like so good and so important that I want to make sure we hear you without the static.
I'm just trying to keep this.
You're back. You're good.
That was my play to make this super interactive, because now we just had a bunch of people make comments. So that was my little trick. No, I'm just kidding. Give me thumbs up and hearts. Can everybody hear me?
We hear you.
Okay. All right. So that was one of my very first bullet points when I was thinking about how to attract realtors at scale. Is first and foremost, you have to think about what their needs are. You know, when you're talking about what mortgage coaches that I'm using right now, well, what is the needs right now for real estate agents? You can't go off of what they've always been, but I'm talking like right now in this marketplace. And I try to reassess that really weekly and monthly. That's how I come up with my content that I'm using for my mini masterminds or for social media. And so let me just share my screen really quick, Dave.
Yeah.
And
guys, what's being shared right now, I'd call a wow moment. Like this is, you know, the whole call has been gold, but she's going to share something right now that would help you wow, would help you create that boom, that wow experience for realtors. So make sure you're really tuning in right now and making sure that we're going to take action on what Denise shares.
Thank you. Yeah. So what are when you're thinking about attracting realtors, whether it's one realtor or a lot of realtors, whatever your method is, you've got to be analyzing what their needs are. Well, a lot of what their needs are is they don't quite have it figured out on what bait they should be using when they go fish in the ocean. They're still using the same fishing line and the bait that they used in 2020 and 2021. And quite frankly, they're confused and they're not as organized as we are as far as evaluating past data on. A lot of them still don't even track where they're getting their leads or why that client decided to buy or sell right now. You know, they're not good at tracking that. So again, to Dave's point, the better that you can be at database management and really the better you can be at questions. I want to know why you're buying now. Because we're relocating. That is a soft ass answer. I want a deeper answer than that. Why? Okay. Why are you moving here? Oh, we want to be closer to the grandkids. Oh my gosh, how many grandkids do you have? And in that conversation, we'll find out that one of their grandkids has special needs and the parents really need the grandparents closer to them. So it does not matter if interest rates are 8%, that grandparent is going to do whatever it takes to live closer to their grandkids to help that special needs kid. That is asking better questions, deeper questions. So when we look at this ocean, my sister Deborah's going to make fun of me because she's like, you can hit present and it looks better, but I like presenting this way. Here are the top. This is what I asked ChatGPT because I don't know anything about bass fish or catfish or trout. So I typed into ChatGPT, like, you know, what are the different kinds of bait? Just full disclosure, when I put this presentation together. So I learned that bass like live bait. I learned that catfish like the smell and like prepared bait such as dough bait, stink bait, saltwater fish. You guys get the point. When I'm teeing up this presentation, my point is if you're trying to fish for catfish, it would be helpful if you knew the best bait to use to catch the catfish. So when these real estate agents or even these loan officers, Dave, this is kind of like your chart when you show that database of people and we don't know what their needs are. You've got all these people in your database, or you've got all these people on social media, or you've got all these real estate agents, and they don't walk around with signs on their head of I'm a catfish or I'm a bass. So you have to look at your data and statistics. And you know, Dan Keller and gosh, who was that guy that you had on that talked about ChatGPT, and Deborah was on, and Deborah shared
It was Robert Stover.
Yeah, Robert Stover. So that meeting that Robert, Deborah, and Dan had, and Deborah shared what the top 5 Ds were, I was like, ding, ding, ding. That's the bait. Deployment, diapers and diamonds, debt, divorce, and death. If people are buying and selling right now in this market, it's mostly going to be from a need, not just a want. So I thought to myself, do real estate agents know this? The answer is no. Like, they might have an idea, but it's not an organized thought. So let me put a presentation together to get an organized thought so they understand that these are the fish in the ocean right now that we're fishing for. And then how can I structure my content for my Nerd Club alum, which is my past clients, my social media? How can I help my real estate agents? Like Brian said, I've got an in-house studio. They're like, I don't know what kind of video to record. Well, we should probably be using bait around these 5 Ds. And so then I asked ChatGPT things like, what do people search for if there's been a death in the family? So death, my social media content that Deborah puts together might share things like, will your home skip probate? That's also a really great thing to send out in your database of clients. I call them my Nerd Club. Will your home skip probate? What happens to the home after death? What is the difference between a will and a trust? Should your home be in a trust? What is the inheritance tax? Now, this is nothing like directly related to mortgages, but it's the bait that I'm using to attract people to me that might have had a death in the family that now need to either sell a home and downsize or sell a home or whatever, but I'm capturing that fish because I'm baiting with it. Same thing with divorce. What names are on the deed and the loan note? What is the current net equity in the home? If one spouse is keeping the home, will the lender financially verify that they can afford it? And then debt, which is what I'll end with. Debt is the biggest one right now. There's so many statistics, and Dave, you've shared charts, and the Americans are in more credit card debt than we've ever been in. And in about 2.5 months, there's going to be a crap ton of student loans that have basically been deferred that are going to be required to have a mortgage payment on it. And none of them are walking around with a sign on their head that says, I have a lot of credit card debt or student loan debt. And guess what? When they post that picture on social media of them taking their entire family to Disney that they used a credit card to do, they're not posting on social media or telling their friends at dinner that they have $50,000 in credit card debt at 18% or 22%. There's a lot of shame in that. So what are you doing in your content on your, whether it's your social media or you're hosting the monthly masterminds of, do you have credit card debt? Let me show you how you can leverage the equity, because people have more equity than ever, to help you get out from that credit card debt. That's the bait. But our realtors don't even know this. And so I said at the beginning of this year, okay, if I can help real estate agents learn this, and by the way, Dave, all of this spawned, this presentation literally came, I think I sent you a voice memo on this. I was at the gym. I was in a funk. I turned on the YouTube Mortgage Coach of that interview with Deborah and Dan. And did you say Robert? I think it was Robert. Okay, Robert. Sorry, I'm horrible with names. Yeah. And then I saw that Dave shared that fishing analogy, because I'm not a fisherman. And we know Dan is always posting pictures of fishing. And like, I put this presentation together in less than 20 minutes. And then I started going with every offer that we were getting and every like broker manager. I'm like, hey, I just did this presentation to a group of agents about what the current needs are in the marketplace. Light bulbs went off for everybody. I would love to come to your next branch meeting and share this with you. And this is all that it was. And so my question to agents, my question to loan originators is like, how intentional are you with knowing what the needs are so that you can get the bait, the proper bait for your realtor needs or for your client needs? How are you showcasing that from a social media standpoint? How are you doing Zoom master classes, whether it's for clients or realtors, consistently to teach them this? And it's not, you know, it's like I said, it's not just this. Last week, I did a whole thing on MortgageCoach and interest rates, and how if you look at May 4th interest rates versus where they are now, there's a massive difference. And so my weekly just 20-minute Zoom classes, though, are based on identifying what the current needs are for realtors, sometimes having a fancy presentation and sometimes it's not, and then being consistent. Because the most attractive thing, this thing is about attracting realtors. Here's the secret, because I can't tell you my script until Wednesday. My script on exactly what to say to get these appointments, that will have to come Wednesday. Sorry, Dave. But the most attractive thing, unless you guys disagree, and if you do, tell me you disagree, to a realtor is if you are consistent. I feel like if you consistently show up with value, whatever method you choose for your chocolate chip cookie, it might be consistently show up on social media, consistently show up every week with your Friday email. Consistently, Dave shows up every Tuesday and Friday to put these masterminds together for all of us loan officers. It's really attractive that for over a decade, Dave has consistently done that. We all know we get sick, we get tired, we have family crap that goes on, but he still does it because he's consistent. And no matter what, there's a level of respect and admiration that comes from that over time, right? Because I can consistently go to the gym for maybe 60 days. But when you do it over time, I'm like, damn, Dave is about his business. Damn, Denise is about her business. Every Monday, she does that interest rate update on social media. So all of what I'm talking about right now, the most attractive thing that you can do is find the bait and just be freaking consistent with it. You see someone that walks into your office that, like, if I see somebody in 40 years or older that maybe has kids and they're in shape, I'm like, they consistently eat right and they go to the gym. I have a lot of respect for that because it is freaking hard for me. I literally have Oreos on my floor right now because it's been a week. And I get weak moments where I'm like, I'm a stress eater. But even if I see somebody in their 40s and their 50s and they have kids and they have a business, I'm like, damn, they consistently must eat right or drink water or go to the gym. I have mad respect for that. Your realtors will have mad respect for you if they consistently seeing you showing up, even though they're not visually paying attention to you. They're not giving you that like on social. They might not have responded to that DM at first. They may not have responded to your call or your text message. What do you do when that happens? Do you stop? Or do you just keep going? When Dave started all this crap, he didn't care that he had one YouTube subscriber. Now I think he's over 20,000. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't about the likes and the subscribers and it's like, his mission was loud and clear. And my mission is loud and clear. I'm going to be the most knowledgeable mortgage advisor in the space. And I'm going to consistently show up more than anybody. It doesn't matter if I look like crap, feel like crap, having a bad day, because my mission is to help and to serve. It's not a mission of how many likes did I get. Y'all, my last webinar that I did, it was for clients, and it was something like should you re-enter the market? That's what the most recent was for the clients. Is now the time to re-enter the market? I sent it out to every client that was in a prospect stage or decided to wait stage because last summer they said I was going to wait. Anybody that was just like pre-qualified more than 3 months ago. I had less than 100 people register for it. And I have a massive database. I mean, there's probably over 3,000 clients that I invited, and I had less than 100 people show up. And some people might view that as a failure. And some of you that have like 300 people in there, like if you look at the percentage and you had 3 people show up, okay, like it's a percentage. Don't get wowed by my less than 100. But I was like, at first bummed, like, damn, I thought like this would be a massive turnout. And I reminded myself that it doesn't matter if 100 people were on that call or 9 people were on that call, because my mission is to help answer the questions that like this people are walking around and they don't have holding flags up saying like, I need help with debt. I need help. I just lost my dad and I don't even know what all assets he has. They don't have signs on their head. So number one is you got to find the needs of your agents, and you can't just assume that all their needs are the same. It's not, because a team lead's going to have different needs. They're going to want to recruit, they're going to want to train versus an individual need. Then you need to go to your current roster, you know, show them love, show them the attention, bring the value and the content to them first. And then to attract at scale is everybody that's in your database that isn't currently sending you business, but they're showing up to your Zooms, they're showing up to your live events, they acknowledge that you kicked ass on that last deal, but they haven't sent you any. You got to show up to them too. I like to separate them because I like my realtors to feel special, that they get the stuff first. But assess the needs. Then you need to bring them together, whether you're doing Zooms, live events, or a combination, and do it often. And be consistent. If you finally figured out what your chocolate chip recipe is going to be, then bake cookies every week. Bake them every day. Don't eat them. That's not healthy. Maybe eat them if you want, but be consistent. That is the most attractive thing, is if someone can be consistent, even when you're being told no or not paid attention to. Because it says my mission is louder than getting the paycheck from you right now.
So, Denise, first of all, loud and clear on the consistent. You know, I want to play a little clip from that interview that you talked about. Shay Jenkins is a new rock star in the mortgage coach community. I just found her this week. Last year was her second year in the business, and you know, she did 53 million in production with a team. You know, and her and a co-team leader, but they're killing it. And I want to play a little 1-minute clip from that. And then I want to talk about consistency, because what I'm going to show you guys, this is one of the most important things to win with rate shoppers in this market. We also posted a little 1-minute clip on how to win with rate shoppers today. And it's also one of the top strategies to win with realtors. So let's check out this 1-minute clip, and then let's talk it out in this
I
last
was going
5
after
minutes.
this huge, one of the top agents in Denver. And I had been trying since I was an assistant, I had been trying to get this person. And finally the poor girl gave me a break and was like, Lord, like, here you go, take this one lead. And I took the lead and I did a mortgage coach. And I was just like, you know what, why not? I'm going to CC the agent on here. And then that's when the agent picked up the call and she's like, are you serious? This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, what, mortgage coach? And I was like, you're the top agent. You've never seen this before? And she's like, absolutely not. She's like, this is amazing. She's like, would you be able to do this with all my buyers? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, that's so cool. And again, in her head, I think she was thinking, I'm up all night creating this massive presentation with all these numbers and graphs. And I got her business, and she's one of my top agents now.
So guys, you know, that is how you win in this market. You know, you deliver solutions and strategies and value. Like there's in that interview, Shay tells a story of how a borrower was like, it was like a gift. You know, like if you can actually turn quoting rates, doing pre-approvals, and it's perceived as a gift by the consumer, that's gold. What are your thoughts, Denise?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like my thought of when we hear and when you interviewed Sean of like, we got to go back to the basics. It's like some of us that use Mortgage Coach, like I don't know how people function if they're not using Mortgage Coach in their practice. And so sometimes I take it for granted. I share a lot of it on social media with what I'm doing, but I was like, I need to do a better job of sharing this with the new realtors that we're meeting, because so many of them, haven't seen it. And it is such a wow factor, especially in a market that we're in now, like showing clients who just wants one rate option or two rate options. Like one of my go-to scripts, and then I won't give you another one, but one of my go-to scripts is like, if you're anything like me, you probably want to know all your rate options. I don't just want to know one or two rate options. I want to know them all. And then I want my mortgage advisor to run the numbers for me and tell me which one makes the most sense. So if you're anything like me, you probably want the same thing. And that's my commitment to you. I'm going to show you all your rate options and then run the break-even analysis so that you can make the best decision for you and your family. Would that be okay? And they're like,
Boom.
yeah, of course. Boom.
Killer script. Man,
That's
we
the
got a
only
script
you
before
get
script
before Wednesday.
All
That's the only
right.
one you
So,
get.
hey, what are you going to do on Wednesday? What is your script on Wednesday?
My script is on exactly what to say when you're reaching out to a real estate agent, whether it's via email, text message, or a DM, exactly what to say to get a response and to ultimately get a meeting.
Right on, right on. So Todd, we're running out of time here. Any questions, thoughts, or taking action notes for everyone?
You know, let me just give some thoughts, right? I mean, if you rewind back way to the beginning of the call, Denise said that she has a minimum standard of 5 realtor connections added to her database per week, right? So my question for all of you is, what is your standard, right? What are you committed to that you're going to make sure you do every week? And she said these weren't just adding random people. These were people that have engaged with her, right? So one is she's got standards and she's got commitments. 2, she said a lot of times that consistency matters. She says it's attractive to realtors. And so consistency, that should be your other word that you're writing down. And then last is really execution, right? You're all here, you're either watching this live or you're watching this before. And what are you going to do to take action on this? When Denise saw Robert Stover on and Dave showed the slide of the fish, she created a short, less than 10 slide presentation on it, and then made a 20 minute conversation with lots of real estate agents and teams and brokerages around that idea. And she just executed quick. She didn't overthink it. She said she didn't make everything perfect, but she did it. And so I think those are the things that you need to be looking at for yourself, right? What are your commitments? Right? Are you actually consistent? And what can you execute on today when you get off this call that you've been thinking about doing, that Denise inspired you to do, that some other mortgage coach conversation we've had has inspired you to do, and make it happen, right? Like say, hey, before I quit work today, before I lay my head on the pillow, can I actually take action on something that's just a small step forward? And then look at next week, right? Are you committed to getting 5 new realtor connections in your database? What would that look like? And more importantly, how would that impact your business, right? That's the reason that Denise is, even though it's a down year, is still going to be doing over 400 loans this year. So just love it. Thanks, Denise. You, as always, inspire me.
B Bird, Deborah, what do you
So
got before we run out of time?
I just want to put an exclamation point around the daily commitments and the standards. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and say you need to do that before noon. Like win your day before noon, because you never know. Denise has been in the business for 10 years, yet you have Shay, who was newer to the business, and yet you never know when that moment's going to be. So you've got to train. You have to do your daily reps. And like Shay had said, she just assumed that top real estate agent had seen Mortgage Coach, but Shay would not have been able to optimize that moment until the time came and that agent was like, fine, I'll finally give you, a deal. I'll see what you can do. And she was able to optimize the moment because of the work that she did before the work. So don't try to take shortcuts, win your day by noon, have a plan, make those commitments and those standards, document and track so that you know which recipe, so to speak, is actually working. And then like Sean Bonosian would say, it's take action. It's action economy right now. You've got to do the work and sometimes do the work before the work so that when that moment comes, you are ready to dominate.
Action economy. I love that. So here's my
I'll
closing
just add,
thought, and then go ahead, Denise.
I was just going to add that if you do the opposite of consistent and you're inconsistent, how horrible that is from a business standpoint. Like, especially, I know Deborah, since you own social media the plug and play social media, it's like, if you're not consistently showing up on social media with valuable content, what that does to the marketplace. And so that's one of the easiest ways to show off your consistency, is to actually be posting valuable stuff consistently. So if you suck at that, just acknowledge that and get on it, because it's 2023. And now it's not about leads, it's about credibility. So that's your plug and play us in. Go check it out. All right, Dave, take us home.
All right, guys. So just some closing thoughts and wrapping around what we heard. We need to get beneath the surface. Like this, loans aren't falling out of the sky. People aren't just calling us up saying, I need a loan, like record low. And I love this slide, by the way, like the top 5 reasons people are selling in this market. If you want to help realtors, you want to be unique, you want to be different, you need to be able to do that. And if you have a database that looks like this, you can't do that. You need a database where you know these signals. So Sales Boomerang covers all of those signals. Like we got life events. So, death, marriage, kids graduating from high school and college. We've got equity. We've got credit improved. What we're finding is these cash out refis that, by the way, we're automatically creating a TCA with those. A lot of those are turning into purchases. Like we are shocked, and we have the data. Like that when we're creating these alerts, a lot of them aren't turning into cash out refis. They're turning into, let's take all the cash out and now let's go back into the market at 5% down. And so I have the data to prove it. Like the lenders that are doing our beta test with our borrower intelligence platform, we're finding that, we're finding how to predict who's going to sell, who's going to move up, who's going to move down. We've got their demographic data with their behavioral data, with their life event data. So guys, never been more important. Todd, did you want to say something? Oh, Todd's got to jump. All right, guys, we've gone 2 minutes over. D Bird, any closing thoughts for you?
You guys rock out your Memorial Day and, be safe, have fun, play loose, right, Dave?
Yeah. Have fun and play loose. And Denise Donoghue, thank you so much for investing time and energy and everything you bring to this community. Super grateful for you. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Give Denise a hand as you leave, or a heart, or whatever you're feeling
Heart
the love.
hands, and shout out to Saul Bailey. He wrote in the thing that this is his first Mortgage Coach webinar for them. So
Dude,
I'm
he's
glad
a
I could do
badass
it first. I'll
baseball.
go back and watch them all. Yeah.
He's a rock
Bye,
star.
guys. Have a good weekend.
Take care.